Hello guys, this is Sandra here. Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. It's lovely to have you here and I hope you're gonna enjoy your time. So today we're gonna So today we are gonna jazz hands? I don't know. And there's no rhyme or oh my god. First I'm just gonna grab one from the pile. Blah, 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 blah. Now palette, we're going to talk about some spring palettes and I feel it's really fitting. I feel really spring in my yellow top. I have purple periwinkle nails. I have a greeny yellow eyeshadow. It's sunny outside. The birds are chirping. So I decided to film this video, and this is something that I got inspiration from by another YouTuber called Paulina Beauty. She's quite big, but if you don't know her, I will link her channel below. And she did a video in collaboration with one of her YouTube friends where they talk about spring palettes. And in my mind, when I think about spring palettes, to me it's connected of like spring and summer palettes. So I decided I'm going to show you palettes that I like to use throughout the warmer seasons. And yeah, that's the gist of the video. I have a good selection of palettes next to me. It's 16 palettes, which is a bit random, but it's from every price point really. So it goes from cheaper palettes to more luxurious palettes. So, you know, it's a good variety, and I would say, you know, you don't have to go out and buy any of these. Although I would say like 99% of these is still available and on the market, but just look around in your collection, because while I did it, I had a few palettes in mind, but as I was looking through my collection, I'm like, oh yeah, that's beautiful for this season and that's beautiful for that season. So, you know, just look around, experiment. You don't have to run out and buy any of these. Just see what you have and rediscover old favorites. But that's it. Without further ado, let's hop into those palettes. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and please consider subscribing. But now let's look at those palettes. There's no rhyme or reason behind what I'm talking about first. It's just whatever I grab from the pile is what I'm going to talk about. So the first palette is more on the pricier end as brands go. It's Natasha Denona, but I think it's around the £20–25 mark because it's one of the mini palettes. So this is the mini star palette and it's beautiful. And when I look at this palette, I instantly go to the middle three and I think about, oh my god, that's your typical beautiful smoky eye for the summer. You know, when you just want that beautiful bronze kind of skin with a brown smoky eye, so you look like J-Lo. That's what this palette reminds me of. And then you have a greeny gold and a more bluey kind of shade that you can see has a bit of dip in it. It's perfect for like a liner, or if you want a bit of pop of color, then you can do that. But it's mainly the middle three shades that make me think of the summer when you just want that typical smoky eye, and that's why this made this selection. Next up we have something that I used on my eye today, but also it's in my Pana palette. Oh my god, that was hard to say. Oh, and I dropped it. And I actually just hit pen on this today, but not in the shade that I'm working on. But anyway, this is a beautiful greeny goldy color, and when I think of spring and summer, I'm thinking of nice, light, colorful colors, even if it's not necessarily pastels, and this color story definitely gives me that. And what makes this a perfect spring palette in my mind is that shimmery gold and shimmery green. Again, when it comes to spring and summer, I like those shimmery bits on the lid, whereas I feel like in the winter and in the autumn I'm inclined to go more all matte. But in the spring and summer I'm old school. I want the glow, whether it's on my eyes or on my cheeks or on my lips, and those two shimmer shades in here are amazing. And for £3, I mean, these palettes, you really cannot fault them. They are so worth picking up. The pigmentation, the payoff, it's amazing. And this is definitely one of my favorites. I have 3 of these little bite-sized palettes, but Hot Jalapenos, did I say that? It's a Hot Jalapenos palette. It's really, really amazing. Another palette on the affordable side with this, the color story just screams spring and summer, and it's the Revolution Neon Shadow palette in the shade Electric Dreams. Now I think this might be one that was limited edition last summer. I have a full-blown review on this if you want to see it, where I created looks and all that of both this and the other palette in this collection. I got 2. And while not all shades perform perfectly in here, I feel like some of the mattes can blend out quite easily. The shimmers are amazing, you can still get a really nice cohesive look, and because the shadows are quite buildable, this can be the perfect pastel-y kind of color story as well for the springtime, but then you can sort of build it up for the summer, or it pairs well with other brighter palettes. So while it's not necessarily something that is an amazing performer in itself, I feel like this goes well with other color stories, and it does just not scream lemonade and cocktails at you, because when I look at it, that's what I think of, you know, a poolside with cocktails or lemonade, and the summer springtime when the sun starts to shine. If I learned to talk, that would help. Now, another palette that has been in my collection for a while, and I actually need to bust it out again because I sort of forgot about it until this video. This is why it's great to do, even if you just do it at home with your own collection, is the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk palette. Now, these are pricey, really pricey, but if you just want a sophisticated spring look, this is it. I mean, I haven't swatched anything yet because we're gonna be here for a while, but let me swatch this shimmer shade in there. They are so pretty. It's nice by itself, it's nice as a topper. I also like that pink. I mean, there you go. There's that glow that you can just build up on your lid like a nice sophisticated sheen, and it's beautiful. This is a really simple palette, so again, it's more for a sophisticated look. This is not something that you can, you know, go extra dramatic with. It's only 4 shades, but it's beautiful. I mean, is it worth the 40-something quid it costs? To me, yes. But obviously, if it's not within your budget, I'm sure there are other palettes out there, but I do love this palette. I think it's beautiful, and every time I use it, I just think, so easy, so simple, so pretty. I do love it. For a palette that's associated with winter, but I think it can be a beautiful spring-summer palette, is this one. It's the Too Faced Gingerbread Spice palette, and when I open it, you will know what I mean, like that bright pink, the gold. It's mainly like these colors that are more summery to me, not necessarily these top two, but if I cover those two, doesn't it look like a summery palette to you? Like with that two in, not necessarily, but as soon as I take those two away, to me this is like a quite summer springtime kind of color scheme. Now, I haven't played enough with this palette to have really deep thoughts about it. So far I like it, but I feel like the formula is a bit of a hit and miss, which I tend to find with the Too Faced shadows. I only own 2 palettes and I'm not 100% about any of those two, so if you have a favourite Too Faced palette, let me know which one is worth a try. But the colour story itself is really nice, and I feel like you can get so many spring pinky looks out with it, whether you want it to be deeper and smokier or just something simple and pastel-y. I think you have many options even though it's a small palette. I mean, the scent doesn't scream summer with the gingerbread, but everything else about it I think is perfect for that time of the year. Now, the next palette is somewhat of an obvious choice when we talk about spring, and it's the Beauty Bay Pastels palette. We have to talk about it when it's springtime because this palette, even with the packaging, already screams spring. And I talked about this palette quite a few times. If you want to see an in-depth review about it still, I can link that below. All these palettes that I have videos with, I will link them below so you can find them all there. It's going to be a hefty list. This colour story screams spring to me. You can see it's really well loved. It already has a pen in there as well. And it's £10 at the moment when I'm filming this, although it will take a few days to go up. But at the moment it's down to £8 from £10 on Beauty Bay. But even £10 is really affordable. And with this palette, I think the more I use it, the more I love it. It's perfect in addition to brighter palettes. Now, by itself, while you can get a really nice look out of this, I did in the past, I feel like it's a bit harder to get it to a pastel payoff I want, even though I know it's pastels. Whereas it's perfect in addition to blend out brighter colours, to tone them down, that kind of sort of thing. Wow, Sandra, you're excelling at speaking. But yeah, I mean, for £10 you really cannot fault it. It's such a handy palette. My favourite shade I think has to be this more orangey one, but I love all of them. Looking at this palette makes me happy, and you know, in spring, this is a perfect color story for inspiration. I mean, take any of these shades, a slightly darker color in the crease, get a shimmer, whack it on, you're done, Bob's your uncle, you're good to go. And what more can you ask for? The next palette is something that I talked about many times before, and it's the Huda Beauty Electric Obsessions palette. Now, I don't know if you can still get it. I hope so, because I desperately need a new one. Look at that baby. It's a bit destroyed. But, I mean, I love this palette all year around, but if you look at the pink, the orange, the brighter pink, even that red and the yellow, they are so amazing in the summer. I always loved wearing like these two blended out with the orange and then the yellow on the lid, or this orangey one all over the lid with the other colours around. It was a bit more grungy but still springy and summery because of those bright colours. And I feel like this is the bright version of the Pastels palette from Beauty Bay, if it makes sense. And I wish that she just released like a bright matte palette. I would love that. I think it would be epic. I don't know why she didn't do that. She has so many of these Obsessions palettes. I'm sure she could fit that in there and I'm sure people would love it. But I love this palette. The look of it and how destroyed it is a testament to that. I feel like the colours, again, are just perfect for the warmer month, especially on days when you want to wear more makeup, which I know is not necessarily for 2021, but I still love my colours. I mean, look at my eyes. It's full of eyeshadow. So, you know, I absolutely adore this palette, and I feel like it's the perfect colour story. Actually, let me just swatch a few shades. I don't know why I don't swatch shadows. I feel like because this video is already going to be quite long. But I mean, just look at those two. Aren't they the most beautiful things you've seen in a while? I think they are. I don't even think these swatches do it justice at all. And let me just wipe it on my leggings. There we go. Now the next palette in my mind is similar to the Beauty Bay one, but it's by NYX and it's the Ultimate Edit palette. Now this is called Brights, but honestly they do blend away, so I feel like it's like halfway between Brights and Pastels. It is a really nice color story. Now this is one that I haven't used too often, but at the same time I love looking at it. It inspires me, it puts me right into a spring mood. This orangey shade is the one that I love, and it's actually a bit more of a corally version of the one in the Huda Beauty palette, or like a slightly more pinky version, I guess. But that's the next one, that's the Huda Beauty one, so they're quite close in colour. I love how they feel. They feel quite buttery. Now, because of that texture, they can blend away a bit sometimes, so you need to build these up. But again, looking at this, I'm like, oh my god, I need to bust this out because these colors are amazing. This is one of my favorites. Again, these first two shades are the ones that I tend to gravitate to most, especially in the spring and summer months. But I feel like this is a great palette by itself if you want a matte look. This is a great one if you want to bust out one of your highlighters rather than an eyeshadow and blend this on the lid with a highlighter, or it's a great companion palette for shimmery shades. There are quite a few things you can do with it, and because it's NYX, it's quite affordable. And because the formula is more buildable, you can use them more as sheer, blending out brighter colors, or you can build them up however you want to use it. And it's quite versatile, and I definitely need to bring it out more because I feel like I haven't played with it in quite a while, which is a shame. I really should. If you need a reminder to rotate your palettes, here, this is it. Next, I want to talk about some influencer palettes, and one is the Pure and Raw Beauty Christie palette, and especially the colourful side. I feel like this side is more my winter / more autumn shades really, because there are so many rusty, beautiful colours in there. But when I look at the colourful side, I'm like, yes, this is summertime, this is party time. Look at all those colours, we can have so much fun with this. Again, videos will be linked. But I feel like next I really want to dive into this beautiful bright pink, because this is one shade. I played with it, but I mean, look at that swatch. Isn't that insane? Like, how bright is that? Ah, oh, it's so pretty. And I feel like, you know, pair it with the purple, you can make it more grungy. pair it with that silver one and yellow, you have the perfect summertime fun kind of makeup look. There are so many things you can do with this. If you want to deepen anything up, you can go over to this side of the palette and, you know, to do that. You can also use both sides and use this side, but then for a pop of color, even in the inner corner, you can use the pink, you can use that more mustardy shade, you can use the orange, you can do so many things with this palette. There's even a matte white in there, which is amazing. So there are so many things you can create with this palette. Now, I don't think you can get this anymore, unfortunately, which is a shame. Now, another palette, what I class as an influencer palette, I guess, is the Jeffree Star Mini Breaker palette. I mean, that Jawbreaker kind of packaging already. Isn't that spring in a packaging? I think so, even though I never had a Jawbreaker in my life. I grew up in Hungary. I don't think we had them, but the color story is so beautiful. I mean, this is my only palette from Jeffree Star, and I haven't purchased anything from his brand since. I'm not sure I will. If I'm honest, the drama is just too much. But I'm gonna swatch you this Orange Crush shade. Oh, my hand looks so beautiful right now. And it's that shade. I mean, it goes well with the color story there. I love it, but also let's swatch this bubblegum pink next to the other bright one. This would be a perfect shade to blend out that shade from the Raw Beauty Christy palette. There you go. It's a more cool toned pastel kind of pink, but I feel like the combination of those two could be really beautiful. This is also something I'm working on at the moment. I'm working on Double Scoop, which is this more mustard shade, but pair it with the yellows and like a gold on the lid. It could be amazing for the summertime, for a slightly more toned back look. And doesn't that color story make you want to play? Because it definitely does that to me. It's beautiful. I also like the purpley colors, but those are, I feel like, a bit more crunchy. So, you know, with some of these palettes, it's half of the color story that I feel like is perfect for the season. And, you know, you don't have to use all shades all the time. I mean, there are 9 shades. You're probably not going to use 9 shades on your lid half of the time anyway. I feel like this color story is perfectly fitting for this video as well. And looking at all these bright colors just really makes me happy. I'm a huge eyeshadow lover. If you didn't know, if this is your first time on my channel, I love eyeshadows. So looking at all these bright colors really just makes my heart soar. As dramatic as it sounds when it's just makeup, but you know. Do whatever makes you happy as long as it doesn't hurt others, and my eyeshadow obsession definitely doesn't. Go for it. The last influencer palette I have in here is again another one I'm working on, funnily enough, and it's the Nikki Tutorials and a Beauty Bay palette. And there are a lot of colors in this palette, but it's mostly this side of the palette. So if I close down the other side, I feel like that side is just spring in a palette. And let me tell you a trick. So I heard first about this from Rebecca Morgan. I can link her channel below, but she used a few eyeshadows as a nail polish. And I'm like, oh my god, 4 nail polish toppers, that's such a beautiful idea. So I made my own periwinkle nails, and let me see if I can show it to you. But I just used a purple nail polish, and then I'm using the shade Pride that is in my project pen. That's like a purpley pinky shade on top of it. And I feel like in real life the periwinkle comes through a lot more than on camera. I'm not sure why my camera is struggling to pick it up. I'm so happy. I'm like, oh my god, I don't need to buy a shimmer purple. I can just make it. It's so subtle, it's so beautiful. So basically I just used this shade. So I applied my purple, and then I waited for it to dry. Then I took a brush, brushed it on, and then I sealed it in with a clear nail polish, and boom, done. And this shade is so beautiful. Let me swatch it for you, and oh, I need to adjust my camera. I mean, look at that glow. I have a tutorial where I use this shadow, but can you imagine those 3 together? Oh my god. It's every pink lover's dream. Oh, look at that. I mean, when they created the shimmer shades in this palette, they did a phenomenal job. They are so beautiful, they are so buttery, and now I feel like they work better with a finger than they do with a brush. But that's okay with me, they are just so beautiful. I also used this yellow today to blend out the inner corner of my eyes, where I've put more gold shadow, and I feel like it turned out beautifully. I mean, this pink, that orange, that baby blue. Let me swatch the blue as well, just so I don't only swatch pink shades. And this is like a true pastel blue. Oh my god, I swatched it in the most awkward spot. Hold on. There we go. Is it less awkward? Probably not. No, it's hard to see because I'm so pale, but there it's this beautiful pastel blue. That side of the palette is truly perfect for this time of the year. There are so many different looks you can create with this palette, and I love it. I love it, love it, love it. I mean, you can see there are quite a few dents in this palette already. There's nothing more I can say. It's beautiful. These two are some of the newest additions to my collection, and they're both from the Colourpop Animal Crossing collection. One of them is the 5-Star Island, and I mean, isn't this cute? I feel like this would work perfectly together with the Charlotte Tilbury palette as well. I mean, look at those two and tell me they would not work nicely together. I think they would be amazing because this brings in the matte colors that you can blend out with, whereas this brings in the slightly more fun pop of colors if you want to make it a bit more of an exciting kind of look, while it still has the shimmers. Oh my god, did I just dig something in it? No, look what I've done. Look, I dug the palette or my nail or something into it. No, I can see too much, but that's sad. Funnily enough, my favourite shade from this is actually this golden yellowy kind of shade. And oh, it's so pretty. I don't know why you cannot see it. There we go, you can see it there. It's so, so nice. I love this palette. I especially, again, love that gold shade, but just in general, it's such a cute little color story. Now, I feel like this is not something you can use that much myself. You can, if you want, but I feel like it's a perfect companion palette to any of those palettes. It would be beautiful with the Jawbreaker palette. It would be beautiful, again, as I mentioned, with the Charlotte Tilbury palette. It would work great with the Raw Beauty Christie palette. Like, it works with so many different palettes I've showed you. And then this one is somewhat of a, I guess, odd choice with all the other colours, but for some reason this reminds me of the ocean, and I don't know why because it's green. But it's the Nook Ink palette, and oh, I love those shades so, so much. My favourite is the glitter, and then the other green that's called Yes Yes above it. Now these are more like a sheer wash type of colour. This glitter formula is not my favourite. I feel like they're a bit harder to apply on the eyes, but they are so beautiful. I'm swatching really awkward spots, but there's the green, there's the glitter, which is a lot harder to see. Yeah, I don't know if you can see the glitter. I'm like tilting the camera like an idiot. Let me try to show you on the back of my hand. I don't know why I did not start right there. There we go, that's better. I mean, look at it. How can you not like it? Oh my god, it's beautiful. Look at that. Oh, does it not just want to like jump into the pool and like get a nice lay? No, that's what it makes me want to do. Oh, so pretty. I just want to like dive into it. Don't worry, we only have 3 plus 1 honourable mention, so we're almost there. Now this one is quite an old palette. Is it the oldest in my collection out of all of these? Quite possibly. And it's the Naked Cherry palette by Urban Decay, and I just feel like, well, this is a slightly smokier, sultrier version of everything out here. I feel like this is an extended colour story of like the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk. And, you know, as soon as Valentine's Day roll around at the end of winter, this is the perfect colour story from then on into the spring and then transitioning into the summer, where you can use these kind of shades for a perfect smoky eye, and then you can move on from there into the autumn. It's a good all year round palette to me, from February till the autumn time for some reason. I don't know why. There are so many beautiful shades in here. Now this pink Bang Bang has almost have pen on it. I've worked on it in the past. But then I also really love Bing, which is another beautiful colour. I also like Young Love, and I feel like Young Love could be perfect for that really bright pink as well, because I feel like that young pink, that bright pink would just pull it a bit more brighter, and they would blend so nicely together. Let me swatch this. do you see? I feel like that young pink again. Come on, that bright pink would brighten it up so much, and they would be such a beautiful combination. But there is it by itself. Let me just quickly swatch Bang Bang as well. By the way, if you hear snoring, the cat is sleeping on the bed, so sorry. It's not me or someone farting. It's Willow snoring on the bed. Those are the two shadows in this palette. Oh, so nice. Now that one is quite hard to see, I feel like, because I'm so pale. But those shadows are really pretty as well. Quite different, obviously, from the greeny ones. But I feel like this could be a good all year round kind of palette that would transition beautifully from winter to spring, and then from spring to summer, and then from summer back to winter. So this is, I feel like it's a bit of a Jolly Joker palette depending which end you dip into. And I mean the packaging. Doesn't it just remind you of a fresh bowl of cherries in the summer when you pick them straight from the tree? That's what it reminds me of my childhood, when I used to pick cherries from the tree and then eat them. That's the packaging. The next palette I'm going to talk about is another well-loved part of my collection, and it's the Juvia's Place Mini Magic palette. And I'm quite sure you've seen this many times as well, because I love this. I feel like it's more the top half that reminds me of spring and summer, although this is quite beautiful as well. And I mean, let me just swatch a few shades before we talk about it so you can see what I mean. There we go. That purple, that would be beautiful with pinks, with purples. Then we have a light pink that's quite hard to see. And then we have a bronzy color that, admittedly, I haven't talked much about bronzes, but it's because I'm quite a color lover, I guess, if you will. So I will always pull more to like the pinks and the light purples and the golds. But this brown shade, Boronu, I don't know how you pronounce it, I probably butchered it. But that brown shade is like the perfect bronzy, smoky kind of color, where it almost borders on copper, but it's still more on the bronze. So if you're a neutral lover, that's a perfect option. Then you can still get a really nice, warm-toned look out of those three, even though that's the coolest out of them all. Oh my god, I almost dropped it. But I love this palette. It's such a beautiful color story that you have there. There's so many things you can do with this. I feel like even with that green, I love that shade. Look at that. You can still do like this beautiful, more brighter, mermaidy kind of green eye that would still be really summer appropriate. It would actually go quite well with what I have on today as well if I wanted to. Yeah, that green reminds me of Ariel. Ariel is in the water, therefore it's summery. Do you have trouble following that? Is it just my brain? I don't know. And I feel like I keep repeating myself with all these palettes, but it's because all of these palettes live in the same place in my mind. And then last palette of my recommendations for the spring and summertime, even though again I encourage you to go into your own collection and rummage around and see what you have there and maybe find some palettes that you forgot about. But the last one is again a new addition to my collection, and it's the Beauty Bay Sunset Horizons palette, and this is just your typical rainbow palette. I mean, what screams summer more if not rainbows? Is there anything that's more summery than rainbows? I don't think so. Let me do a few swatches first. Look at that. Oh my god. Again, you have that bright pink, which I actually recently used in a pink eyeshadow video, and this shadow was my main inspiration. It's called Flamingo. I will link that video here. But I mean, that's a similar version of it, but it's slightly more red and more glowy. Then you have that burnt orange, rusty kind of glowy color, and then you have a really pastel pink there. I hope the glow comes through the camera. I feel like I'm the worst at swatches officially. I mean, when you have to be in this position to show it to you, I probably am, but I'm already full of swatches there, so you know. What can you say? I feel like, again, as I mentioned, it's the same scheme with most of my palettes, but these are the kind of shades in this row, and like the pinks and the yellows, that I more gravitate towards at this time of the year. And these goldy yellowy shades are amazing as well. You can even pair them if you pair like this part of the shadow, you can do like a beautiful sunset eye, maybe a drop of pink in there. There are again so many varieties that you can do with this palette. I mean, you can even do like a blue and a yellow type of mixing, so you get more like a greeny color, but you can do this beautiful gradient from yellow to blue kind of thing with those shades, and it would look amazing. You even have like a black and a dark blue if you really want to deepen it up a little bit, or you can use these as smoked out liners with like a little pencil brush. It would look amazing. That orange shade of Reef would be beautiful with something that's a more sparkly orange on the lid, and it would scream Fanta eyes. You know the drink Fanta? Is it just me? Is that just only me who it inspires to do a shadow look based on that now? I don't know. Clearly, I'm mad like that. I can't help it. Now, the last palette I want to talk about is an honorary mention because I ordered it, but it's not here yet, and it's the Colourpop Lizzie McGuire palette. So I'm gonna pop like a picture here. I'm gonna scoot a bit on the side, and looking at it, it's like this perfect springtime tie-dye kind of color scheme where you have pastel purples, pastel pinks, pastel-y yellowy greens and golds, and I'm just looking at it right now. It's beautiful and I cannot wait to be able to play with it. It looks like such an amazing color story, and I feel like that will be your perfect pastel-y kind of wash-off color on the eyes. I love how it looks. I cannot wait. I think the color that so far inspires me the most is Dear Diary, which is this greeny, goldy kind of color. I mean, it's similar to what I went for today. Let me zoom you in so you can see my eyes. I'm clearly more into like a green and gold kind of color story at the moment, but now I'm looking at all these peachy kind of shades in there that are in the middle, and I cannot wait to use those. They look so amazing, and that's something that I look into, those peaches and pinks, and I'm like, yes, spring is here, I'm ready. Bring out my little tops and the skirts, even though I'm always freezing, so I never wear skirts unless it's the summertime, but that's what it wants me to do. I'm like, yep, break out the flip-flops, all the pastel shades I have in my collection, whether it's nails or eyeshadows, and I love it. But then I feel like because the purples in this palette are also on the lighter color scheme, they will be amazing around this time of the year, whereas some of the purples that are in the palettes that I showed you are more on the darker side, so I would class them more to be a color I would use around the winter time. These are on the lighter scale of pink, no purple, borderline pink actually, some of them, like the one in the corner called Outfit Rememberer. So I feel like there are so many shades in here that I want to put on my eyes right now, but I have to wait till it arrives, so get ready. That will be on my channel at some point. Oh, I'm so excited if you could not tell. But that's it. I'm gonna go now because I'm pretty sure it was a really long-winded video where I'm just gushing about eyeshadow. But hopefully you still enjoyed it anyway. Again, Paulina Beauty will be linked down below. I also mentioned Rebecca Morgan, so she will be linked in the description box as well. And I mean, look at that. If that does not make you happy, I don't know what does. It clearly makes me happy looking at all those beautiful shadows. I love eyeshadow. But if you enjoyed me gushing about colourful eyeshadow and pastel eyeshadow, please give this video a thumbs up, and please, please, please consider subscribing to my channel. It would mean so much to me. Also, if you watched this video till the end, you're a trooper. Thank you, and please let me know in the comments below what is your perfect spring/summer palette. I would love to know. But for now, I'm gonna go. I hope you have a lovely day, and bye bye.